Welcome back to Pubcast, the pod where mates get together for a chat over a couple of beers to discuss everything from the latest annoyances in life to solving world peace.
Might be a bit of an arse feel, but we can most certainly try our best.
We'll try, mate.
We're looking to create a fun and informative pod with the hope of making you feel as if you've just walked into the pub and joined us for a chat. Whether that be for a moan about your crappy day, Phil's rants, or when I just need to emotionally offload.
Are we going to do that every day?
Pack it in, mate.
At times it will just be us. I'm Phil.
I'm Mark.
But from time to time we'll be joined by friends, fellow regulars and sometimes even strangers for interesting and illuminating conversations, some of which might be useful.
To someone we hope.
We hope. So let's order up some drinks and get on with this week's episode. Whose round is it, mate?
Definitely yours, Phil.
A quick word of caution. This podcast may contain strong language and topics that some people may find upsetting or offensive, and may not be suitable for young people. Please remember the management reserve the right to refuse entry.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, man. You alright?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, man.
Well-
Not too bad at all.
Marvellous. Welcome back to the... what was this, episode 2?
Episode. Oh, door.
And duh.
Door.
Duh.
Yeah. There's my French. I actually had to do that in order.
Dos. Do you know German? I don't know.
Oh,
German.
eins, zwei.
Vi.
For
Okay.
all of our German pod lists that we've got.
Yes, yeah.
I
How
was going to ask you how you were before you were just about to ask the same thing.
You can ask me. I am very, very well, mate. I've it's a good day. It's been working all day, but got some really good work done today and got some new business in. So it's always positive. And some nice person put some money in my bank account.
That always helps, man.
I say my bank account, the business bank account, but
That is pretty much also, isn't it? So
some
let's
of
be
it
honest.
trickles down to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Most of the tax man, and the
Yeah,
bank manager,
yeah,
and
yeah.
various other
Fees,
people.
all of the other bits. Yeah,
Yeah,
staff.
But, staff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to give them a shout out?
No, not really. We had a little situation yesterday. So
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
It
Fair play.
it was nothing. Someone accidentally, I think it might have been on purpose, but accidentally gave a client my personal mobile number.
Whoops a daisies.
Yes, I was. Let's just say that I may have bared my teeth a little.
Did you?
Just a little.
Did you have that little
Just-
grin and that little sort of teeth scrape thing?
Sometimes people need to know that I'm not just a pussycat.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's all fine. It's all resolved.
I must say, man, like after band practice last night,
Yeah.
I'm still buzzing from that
Oh,
today.
what fun was that?
You know what? I got back after that. I had half a bottle of wine, which was lovely.
Of course.
Because why wouldn't I? Well, it was left over. And you know what? It might have gone out of date. So
Well, it does that, doesn't
it
it?
does that eventually. So I thought, I'll drink that.
Like that vintage stuff. It.
Exactly. You know, Reservo, is it? Yeah. I reserve the right to drink it.
Yes.
So,
There you go. Done.
so I had that, and then Joe was obviously just sending loads of stuff on the group chat about like what songs to try and stuff.
I saw that.
Then that got me excited. Then I picked the guitar back up, then started to look at tabs again, and then started to play again.
Oh, did you?
I woke up this morning and what's the finger next to your thumb called? Not index.
No, the index is. No, that is your index finger, isn't it?
Anyway, I've just said it. The finger next to your thumb on my left hand, because I'm right-handed, so I play guitar the normal way.
That is your index finger.
Okay.
'Cause index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. Yeah.
So, that one. This morning I woke up and fucking hell, it's just tough as fucking anything now.
That's good.
But it just means that playing for... God, how long did we play for last night?
Not
Practice.
as long as normal because
No.
Joe was a bit late and then Mark was a bit late.
And we went to the pub first.
Yeah. Do you know how many times we reference alcohol? I mean, people are going to definitely think that we are complete and utter alcoholics. We're not. We're
No.
high functioning
High functioning. I mean,
alcohol connoisseurs.
Would a
Enthusiasts.
I like that one.
Enthusiasts.
Would an alcoholic have the structure like me, who's just starting to get abs?
No, but they would have mine.
Yeah. Okay.
What was I about to say?
Completely gone off track.
Yeah, because that's what you do. I think hopefully people are going to A, enjoy this, and B, accept that we are
just going to go on
incapable of keeping one single train of thought.
The best thing is I actually have stuff in front of me with like stuff to cover, and I just know right now that's gone out the window straight away.
We 10 out of 10 for effort in preparation.
Yeah, thanks.
But it's all right. It's all right. We've only just started. Part of me is thinking we possibly should have listened back to this to make sure that it is actually recording, but we can see stuff.
We'll just guess. And,
seat of the pants
yeah,
stuff.
just hope.
Mate.
You know.
Last night,
Go on.
when we got home from band practice, and Joe was firing off all of those tune suggestions.
Yeah.
That was the first time since we've started playing with this setup that I was like, I don't recognise them. Who are those?
There was a few on there, mate.
There was
that
a
I
few
looked at. I was just
really
like,
obscure,
I'll quickly put them on Spotify and see if I know them. No, don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how old's Joe?
27.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, I'm 36 in 2 weeks. Don't need to buy me a present or anything, mate. Just
Already ordered.
yeah, all right, mate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
It shows the age gap there, man.
It does.
It just does.
It does. Yeah. I mean, part of the reason it works with Joe is because he's into tunes that are not contemporary for his age.
Plus, as well, he's just fucking good at what he does.
He's mustard, mate.
He's fucking
he's
good.
something else. But yeah, some of those tunes I was, the majority of those tunes I wasn't recognising. And I had to listen through some of them. I couldn't be bothered to respond last night. And during a bit of a break from work today, I was having a listen through them.
Yeah.
And I was a bit like, how many times do I have to go through this? Like, you know, there's only a certain amount of singing I can do. I can't do rap, Joe.
No.
I can't do metal. You know,
Yeah, it is a thing.
It is a thing.
It is a thing.
it is a thing. But
So obviously that happened, and then this morning I got up a little bit late. By the way, new mattress that I bought. Bang on point.
How's
mate.
that going?
Bang on point.
Yeah.
Loved it.
sleeping well.
Absolutely. Got 7.5 last night.
Has your Fitbit reported a successful evening?
It has. Oh, the Fitbit report.
You remember those prehistoric people, you know,
Yeah.
like before 2010, that didn't have devices to tell them how they were feeling? You know?
You know what? So me and Phil have a bit of a thing about the Fitbit report. I tell him what my Fitbit tells me, and he doesn't give a fuck.
I could not give a toss. In fact, I was the first to buy a smartwatch,
You were.
and
I'm always ages behind. I was the last in my friendship group to have a smartphone.
I don't think I've used any of the smart elements of it at all.
I did make you turn it on when we were playing tennis.
You
I
did.
would make you put it on then,
You
because I'm
did
like,
do that.
record this stuff, man.
I don't, you know.
And then you would not really pay much attention to it. I would ask you more questions about what was your max heart rate when we were doing that rally and da 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 da.
Mate, that's one of the joys of my age. I don't need a watch. I have ankles and knees to tell me that I've been playing tennis.
Yeah, that is a thing too.
Wow.
That is a thing
Looking
too.
forward to getting back into it now that spring's on its way.
It's on its way, man. It's fucking cold today, though. Proper cold. Oh, yeah, so anyway. Get
Oh,
back.
no, whoa, hold on.
What happened?
First time this year I went out for a dog walk without a coat on.
What time was that?
Oh, 1:30.
Yeah, it warmed up by then, mate. Yeah. You forget, I have to leave the house for work.
I don't do mornings. Oh, by the way, Pods, I have an office in my house. I work from home.
Yeah. So left the house, got to site, and I was going to repair a drain pipe, like that comes down from a hopper, so like a water pipe. So get there thinking, right, all I've got to do is patch this pipe in. I'll be here 10 minutes and I'll fuck off. Great.
Go on.
Take the pipe apart.
Easy.
It is solid
Oh, nice.
inside,
Nice.
fully blocked, like proper fully blocked, and it's like 3 degrees. Didn't bring a fucking hat with me, didn't have a jacket.
Oh, fun.
Nothing.
Fun.
Nothing at all. Ended up having to rod this fucking drain, and it was all blocked up with like washing powder and like kitchen fat.
Oh, lovely.
So the smell was fantastic.
Sort of. Oh, like a drainage
Gully
pipe. When you said hopper, I was imagining like a
Oh
rain
no,
gutter.
no. So these waste pipes went into a hopper, then it went down into like a rainwater gutter pipe, then round the corner, and then into a surface drain.
Okay.
And then it was the U-bend on that surface drain that had blocked up, and then it blocked all of the pipes back as well, because it had just been blocked for fucking ages. So yeah, I had to do that. It's not really my job. I'm a gas engineer, not a fucking plumber that unblocks pipes. But whilst I'm there, I will do it.
You got to do what you got to do.
And you know
mate.
what? The client, who is James, shout out to James, one of my best clients ever. Really nice guy. So I was like, cool, just get on and do it. Worst bit was rodding it, because I don't actually keep drain rods on the van. I thought I'll just use a bit of plastic pipe that I got in the back of the van. The problem is with pipe and rodding is that it's a pipe, so stuff can just shoot up through the pipe. So I'm rodding this fucking drain, trying to rod down, obviously unblock something, and it shoots up through the pipe, hits me square in the face.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Luckily, this is not a turd
Lovely,
drain. It's just a gully drain.
stinky
but
rubbish.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've had worse. It's
well,
fine.
it happens.
It's fine.
It
So that was
happens.
my morning. Yeah.
Nice. Incidentally, I was saying that some new business came in today. Referral from Sam. Shout out to Sam. Won't say the
Number
client.
6.
Number 6. Won't say one. Number 6. Won't say the customer's name because I haven't met her yet, so I don't have that permission. But she was telling me. So the reason Sam's got involved is she has some rising damp,
Okay.
and she had. She was seeing some pooling water, so she had Dynarod out to and she was saying, like, I'm assuming that there must be a drain block somewhere, but
Never assume.
I'm usually quite cautious because keeping the gullies and the grates clear and stuff.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was so bad because the water table was high, and water table was almost literally at surface level.
No way.
Yeah, so that's why she's got to have damp proof. And,
So damp proofing, what are they going to put, like a soak away sort of around the building or something like that?
well, I mean, that's obviously down to Sam.
Yeah.
My part of the job is a bit of additional stuff. She wants a new porch and stuff. She decided, as
If I'm gonna
Sam's
do
there,
this, I'll do the lot.
might as well have the porch.
Fair play.
But we had a little chat about it, and she was saying, like, I don't know, is it going to be a soak away? But obviously that's down to Sam. But of course, if the water table's that high, a soak away's not going to do bugger all.
Yeah, that's true,
So
mate.
it needs to be
Yeah.
taken away through the network.
Great fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I don't do below ground.
Yeah. Well, that's work covered then.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, yeah. Apart from
Within reason.
yeah, apart from the minor little bit about me being sued.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did James? Oh, I won't actually. I won't say the name. I almost did. Did
Bob.
the solicitor call you today?
I had a lovely chat with the solicitor. And
He's a nice guy. We've literally just gone quiet because we're ordering another 2 pints.
Yeah.
So. And she knows what pints to get us, but yet she's asking questions.
she's being concerned that I still have more left than you, and she doesn't want mine to go flat.
It's because it's my first one,
And you
I
always
always
drink
drink it
one.
first.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yes, I have a customer from a long time ago, probably 18 months, 2 years ago, and they are trying to claim £7,500 from me for materials that were incorrectly ordered, saying that my measurement was incorrect. Haven't done the full investigation into it. I suspect that my measurement isn't incorrect, but I suspect that the face of the wall that I measured from may be dry line, so that wasn't structural, so the steel has to sit on
okay,
another
true.
wall. So that's the variation in the measurement. But
That's not really
bottom
your
line,
division, though.
on
isn't
the
it?
drawings, it always says do not scale from this drawing. Make sure you measure on site. I think they've probably scaled from the drawing.
Well, I don't be funny, man. That's completely true because actually you did the drawings for my house. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I did when I ordered my steels? I got a tape measure out and I measured what the span was.
kind of, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Kind of, mate. Yeah. And the steel that I was unsure about, I spoke to the guy who fabricated the steels for me, and he said, you know what, mate, if you're unsure, measure what you've got already. I'll make it longer, and you can cut it down to size when you put it in.
Well, I mean, fancy that.
You know what? That's weird, isn't it?
What's that old thing about measure twice, cut once?
That thing.
Yeah.
Zoe, you are a legend. Thank you very much for the beer.
Thank you very much, Zoe.
Oh, look at that. She's even bought you over another beer, Matt.
Just amazing.
The service is impeccable.
Thank you very much. So, yes.
And we've got bubbles.
And we've got bubbles.
So happy for bubbles and beer.
Yes. So, I think, I had a positive and constructive conversation with unnamed solicitor, and
it is a big shout out to him, by the way, because he is a legend.
Well, I mean, not that much of a legend. I'm going to pay him.
Well, the difference is I've been on a stag do with this guy.
Yeah, right.
You haven't.
No, he's more of a direct friend of yours.
And I have paid him a lot more money than you have. So, yeah.
Me. Well, you know. But yeah, no, I'm fairly confident that's all going to be resolved to everybody's satisfaction.
Yes.
Apart from the builder.
Indeed.
Who fucked it up.
Indeed.
Yeah. But.
So I've got a thing. I think we covered.
Sorry, I just want to say. So
you're interrupting me. How are these roles reversed?
Stop it. And I told you to speak closer to the microphone, but you're already too loud anyway. So, but when your voice is really distant on the pod, then it's not my fault.
Good.
Just don't do as you're told.
Yeah. Okay.
So the conversation I had with Jamie was.
Did you just say his name, you dickhead?
Oh, bollocks, yeah. Fuck it. Okay, I'll edit that out.
It's only the first name. It's fine.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. We won't say what the firm is.
No. And I kind of got into one of my flows, and I was explaining my whole workflow and my process, and I was like, so this is what I do, and that's what I do, and this is what I do, and it's just not possible. I would have to make the same mistake 3 times, which is just infinitesimally small. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. You fucking said it, mate, not me.
Probability. and I went on and on and on, and then I was just like, oh. I was like, sorry, Jamie, am I going on a bit? And he's like, no, I understand. And a part of my little brain, not dissing Jamie in the slightest, but part of my little brain went,
very well educated.
He's on the clock. Of course he don't mind. I'll listen to you all day, Phil.
Yeah. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Yeah. Fair play. No, fair play. Right, I've got a question to ask you. I think we discussed this before. I don't really listen to the news.
No, you don't.
So occasionally I dip in and out. The only thing that I really listen on the radio to is James O'Brien, sometimes a bit of Sheila. After James O'Brien on LBC, Monday to Friday.
10 to 1.
As if he's like going to sponsor us or some stuff. Hey, dude, I mean, if you do want to, fine. But
J.O.B., come on, man.
Yeah, come on, step up.
I would say we'd invite him to the podcast, but he'd just interview us, wouldn't he?
He really would, man. Like, he really
He's too
would.
Good. He's too good.
So he mentioned on there about this Gary Lineker thing. I don't have a clue what this is about. Now, I know you're a football fan, so you're probably going to know more about this. I saw something on, I think it was Instagram at the weekend, that all of the presenters from Match of the Day like stood in solidarity with him because they, I think BBC have sacked him or something, have they? Or
not quite, but yeah.
Okay. So what is this about? I don't have a clue.
I mean, first of all, like, you must live under a rock, because everyone, like, it's literally been headline. So it ran for days.
Okay.
On one of the days, it was actually the first story on News at 10.
Really?
More important than war and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Gary Lineker.
Child trafficking, all
of
of this stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, does it?
No,
really?
No.
When a celebrity says something,
Gary,
I take it he spoke his mind about something, is what I hear.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to do that anymore. That's not me saying that, but anyway, right. So, Gary Lineker. Do we have to explain who Gary Lineker is?
I don't think so,
What
mate.
about if people are listening from abroad? Gary Lineker used to be an England footballer. He's now a broadcaster.
Oh, I do know a fact about him. Didn't he win the Golden Boot?
He did, and technically the brown shorts. He shat himself in the middle of a game once.
Did he?
Yeah. But he did. I think he's maybe the
So
only
you can
English
Google
player.
that one.
Maybe, I don't know.
I know what I'm
did
gonna
Harry
do
Kane
later.
win the Golden Boot? I don't know. Anyway, but yes,
he
he
did.
won a Golden Boot at the. Anyway, right. So he's a broadcaster. He
He shat himself.
shut himself. He. Come on, we're trying to big him up. He doesn't need
I
bigging
love a
up.
poo story.
He doesn't need bigging up. So Gary Lineker, ex-footballer, now a sports broadcaster. He fronts a program called Match of the Day, which is the #1 sort of football highlights program on a weekend.
Thank God you cleared that up.
People abroad might not know. I mean, obviously we have thousands and thousands of listeners.
Loads of them, mate. Yeah.
We have if you move the decimal point.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he tweeted. So, right, first of all, we need to talk about the government very, very briefly.
Which government is that, Phil? Are they our favourite blue ones that we absolutely love and adore?
The Conservative and Unionist Party.
Yes.
Yes, them.
They're doing such a good job.
Wonderful. I mean,
They are flawless.
literally flawless.
How do we survive without them?
You cannot say a bad word about them.
You
Which
really
brings us to
cannot.
Gary Lineker.
Okay.
So, Suella Braverman has... she's the Home Secretary. She's decided... not decided. They're Conservative, so immigrants are very, very bad people. They're all coming here to steal your jobs, take your houses.
And still are women as well.
Probably, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
probably not... Yeah, steal them.
Still them.
Yeah, because they're inherently bad people.
Yeah. They're not humans at all.
No,
They're foreigners.
They're not humans.
Foreigners. Aliens.
Aliens. Oh.
Illegal aliens.
Oh, you're getting close, see?
Oh, okay.
You're getting close.
Am I?
Right. So the government have come up with this new so they've introduced a new bill to Parliament, which is almost identical to a bill that they presented a year ago, which became law and still hasn't solved the problem of the small boats coming over from the Channel and people landing in small boats. Right. Little side note, it's one of the only problems of criminality I know of, other than drug use, where the legal justice system goes after the victim rather than the criminal,
Yeah.
which is strange. But maybe, like my brother once said to a policeman that stopped him for speeding, "Do you know why we've stopped you, sir?" And he said, "Yeah, because burglars are too hard to catch."
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's fucking true.
it's true, isn't it? That policeman did not like
My brother said a good one once. He, I think it was Yorkshire Police. That's where my brother is aimed up
Yorkshire.
towards. They put up a post about these smart cameras that we put on the motorway can track this and da 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 da. And he went, "Oh, thank God we've got those because now there's no more rapists or murderers or anything like that. Thank God for the smart ones." Yeah, not exactly all that fucking great, really. So, yeah.
No. Anyway, so yes, you interrupted me again. No, I diverted and then you interrupted me. Stop spitting your beer at me.
Don't make me fucking giggle as I'm
right,
taking
so
a
Gary,
sip of a pint.
You asked the fucking question about Gary
Get on.
Lineker.
All right, fine.
Right. Suella Braverman, Home Office, they've come out with this new bit of law that basically says anyone that lands on enters the UK on a small boat over the Channel will automatically be denied asylum and will be deported.
Does that include a lifeboat that's sinking in the Channel?
No. Now, the important thing to note about this law that this bill that the Conservative government are trying to put through and become law is it is inhumane, immoral, and illegal, and against every international law possible.
God, that's so unlike the Tories to do something like that at all.
Anyway, so Gary Lineker tweets something. The language. This is important words. Suella Braverman's language is not dissimilar to Germany in the 1930s.
Makes complete sense, mate.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I'm a little bit of a war buff, so yeah, I can actually imagine what he's pointing towards here.
It's nuanced. You got to be very distinctive. He's not talking about German language in the 1940s, i.e. Nazis, Holocaust, all of that sort of stuff. He's talking about
The build-up.
1930s.
The build-up to
Crystal Knot,
1939.
all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Anyway, so he says language is not too dissimilar to the 1930s. All of the right-wing nut jobs lose their shit, right? Because
Okay.
you're not allowed to criticise the government.
You are freedom of speech.
Not quite. Like technically, in a democracy, you are, but where we are at the moment in our situation, we're not. So, Gary Lineker works for the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
The BBC chairman, the person who runs the organisation,
Do we know their name?
can't think of his name. There's another bloke called Tim Davey, but he's the Director General.
Of course, it's a bloke. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The chairman doesn't have any links with the Conservative Party, apart from organising an £800,000 loan for Boris Johnson, the ex-Prime Minister. And Tim Davey, who's the Director General, he doesn't have any links with the Tory Party, other than being an ex-advisor to Boris Johnson and used to be in the Conservative government.
That shit doesn't matter.
Doesn't
man.
matter, mate.
Doesn't matter.
It's in the past.
No,
It's in the past.
whatever.
Anyway, so these people lose their shit
Yeah.
and they rebuke Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker says, well, that's not really fair. So then they suspend Gary Lineker and they say, So the deal with BBC, which is different to all other commercial news organisations, is that it's state funded.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be impartial. You're not supposed to show any partisan opinion about any particular...
Or otherwise you turn into like the Russian media right now that they've got. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
It turns into an autocracy rather than a democracy. So they basically... What they did is they went to the drawer and they bought out one of those old 6-barrel revolver things,
Yeah.
right?
A 6-shooter.
A 6-shooter, right? And they pointed it at their foot
Yeah.
and they shot themselves in the foot. But they still had 5 bullets left.
Oh, and they kept on firing?
By the end of the weekend, they'd done all 5.
Did they reload?
So they suspended Gary Lineker and they said, right, Gary Lineker won't be hosting Match of the Day. Then all of the co-hosts of Match of the Day went,
Yeah.
well, if Gary's not on it, I'm not going on it. So normally the format of Match of the Day is you've got some pundits in the studio, they chat
Yeah.
amongst themselves, then you go to the game, you watch the highlights of the game, you listen to the commentary, there's a commentator at the game.
Come on it, whatever that.
Yeah,
that
well, they're
sort
the
of thing.
pundits in the studio,
Yeah.
but the commentators is the important bit.
Oh, okay.
Right. So all of the studio pundits, they went, well, we're not playing the game,
Okay.
right? So then the BBC announced that there won't be any studio punditry on this week's edition of Match of the Day.
Okay.
There'll just be highlights with commentary.
Okay.
So then all the commentators
No
turned
way.
round and went, well, I'm not doing it because you're turning into a bunch of fascist motherfuckers. So then there was no commentary. So Match of the Day, which usually runs for about an hour, run for 20 minutes.
No way.
There was only highlights. There was no segments. There was no commentary.
No interviews?
No interview. Didn't even play the theme tune. Oh, that's the other thing, because normally, the players are obliged by contract
Yeah.
to make themselves available for interview after the
Yeah,
game.
sure.
They all went, no, we're not doing it. So there was no players.
Oh,
no,
fuck
there was
me,
nothing.
mate. The
There was
BBC
nothing.
have now
Oh, yeah, that,
literally fisted themselves.
probably. So today, yesterday, sorry, they've resolved it. They've basically backed down on everything and said. Yeah. So so basically Match of the Day's back on and everything's back to normal
Okay.
because they've said, oh right, okay, well, maybe Gary can say what he wants. So the important bit is
we live in a democracy.
We live in a
which,
democracy.
Back in the 1930s, when all this stuff started to kick off, a shitload of people went and fought to defend.
freedom of speech.
Yeah. Okay.
So the important bit is that if you're an employee of the BBC, you're required to be impartial, which is absolutely right,
Yeah, I get that. That's fine.
particularly if you work in news or opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't apply to Gary Lineker because he's a sports broadcaster. Doesn't apply to Gary Lineker because he's a freelancer.
So he's contracted.
He's contracted just for that show.
okay.
And his Twitter account is obviously his own personal Twitter account. He's
A bit
allowed
like our little podcast one
a
that
bit
we've
like
got.
us.
Yeah.
Slightly less reach. Lineker's got
And
7
I'm in
million
charge of
followers.
that bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's highlighted, like in real stark contrast, just how much influence the current governing party have over the media landscape. I mean, so it used to be that the BBC is completely impartial.
Yeah.
I mean, with the fact that the majority of the people in charge are either Tory donors or ex-Tory
I
members.
think that's nuts too, man. That
It
just
is
shows
nuts.
bias
It is
straight
nuts.
away.
But then, you know, the rest of the media landscape you have in the UK, so you on the TV, you've got like Sky, they're owned by Murdoch. Actually, I don't know if you
It's
owns
not
them.
in anymore, I
No,
don't
no,
think.
but
Yeah.
I think they still have
I'm sure there's a foot in the door, mate.
Yeah, I don't know if you can call them completely impartial, but then you've got the Telegraph and the Daily Mail and the Sun, and they're all very right-wing. You know, Murdoch's...
Fucking joke, mate.
Yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately not many people mean. Right, now this is very interesting, right? So, you hear people will use this phrase quite a lot, and you hear it a lot, you heard it a lot more once people started coming up with COVID conspiracies and that sort of shit. You remember when COVID vaccine conspiracies started coming around, and you hear loads of people talking about the mainstream media. You can't listen to the mainstream media. You can't
Yeah.
believe the mainstream media. You've heard that expression, the mainstream media.
I sort of got them on that, yeah.
I was watching a video the other day, and I got this bit of information from Ian Hislop, who is the
Yeah.
editor of Private Eye
He's
and on
awesome. His stuff's good. Yeah.
very sorted guy, very clever.
Yeah.
So I got this bit of information with him. So if it's wrong, sue him. Mainstream
I've got
media.
enough of shit,
Right.
shit on my plate.
When do you think is the first recorded instance of someone using the expression mainstream media, and who do you think coined the phrase?
If I'm to guess, it's either going to be Bojo or Trump.
Similar ilk. The first recorded use of the phrase
Don't say
mainstream
it.
media
Don't say it.
was in the 1930s by Joseph Goebbels,
Fucking hell.
who was famously Adolf Hitler's propaganda
yeah,
expert.
Exactly, yeah.
And he told the German people in the 30s, you cannot listen to the mainstream media, you must listen to us.
Fucking hell, that's a shit tons.
And it, look at
That's
that, how
some
that's
shit.
echoing down the lines. And now we're in that world. And this is what this political landscape is all about. It's all about division. Don't listen to them,
Yeah.
listen to us.
Yeah.
They're lying to
We
you.
know what's best here.
We know. They're lying to you. Where in fact what they're doing is they're pointing over there saying, look at that, whilst we're in your
The thing
house
is, though, is
burgling your money and
surely-
shagging your missus.
Yeah. Yeah, precisely it, man. Fuck.
I despise them.
I'm so glad I asked.
Good. You got me going. You maybe want to ask me something a little bit lighter.
So,
next
you
week,
know,
mate.
in the intro, I say one of Phil's rants. There's one of his rants.
Got loads more, mate.
Yeah.
Got loads more.
The other one, I don't know if I should ask.
You can go. You have a go.
Who's the lady that presents Question Time?
Fiona Bruce.
Fiona Bruce. There's something in the news about her. I don't know what this is about either. And I
Firstly, I don't understand how she's even fronting that show. She used to be like, you know, a sort
she
of...
was a newsreader, right?
Yeah, and then for years, she's done Antiques
It's
Roadshow.
Roadshow.
This,
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah,
really
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of cuddly, friendly show. It's
Yeah.
like little old dears bringing their old shit, old tap
Yeah.
from the... Oh, yeah,
And
what's
an,
this? Oh, it's
and an expert goes,
Yeah.
that is just shit.
hoping that someone's going to tell him it's worth 20 grand.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so Fiona Bruce is now the host of Question Time.
Yeah.
So she is in the news. So she was...
So this is another BBC thing.
It's another BBC thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all along the same sort... Well, is it along the same sort of lines? It's been perceived to be along the same sort of lines.
Yeah.
She's in the news because she was an ambassador for Refuge, which is the domestic violence charity, and she's resigned from that.
Oh, okay. Was this abuse against women or just abuse in homes, or do you know?
Refuge is primarily for domestic violence against women, but I guess they do when
Diverse,
when
yeah, sure.
it's a bloke being domestically
Yeah, sure.
abused. So, ex-Prime Minister Boris Johnson. British Prime Ministers, when they leave office, they have what they call a resignation honours list. So they can award honours to people.
Oh, I heard this. He wanted to give one to his dad or
He
something.
wanted to give one to his dad.
Yeah.
And that was the topic of conversation.
Dickhead. Yeah.
And-
Boris Johnson. I don't know about his dad, but whatever.
Stanley Johnson.
Stanley Johnson.
Well, this is the subject.
Uh-huh.
So one of the panellists, can't remember her name, sorry, that person, they were talking about whether Boris Johnson should be allowed to award an honour to his dad. And one of the panellists highlighted the fact that Boris Johnson's mum, Stanley Johnson's wife,
Yeah.
who has now sadly passed, but she wrote a book, and in a book she disclosed how she was abused by Stanley Johnson.
Oh, okay.
And famously, she ended up in hospital where he broke her nose.
Fucking hell. Okay.
And this woman panellist...
well, that's going to scratch some shit with me, isn't it? So, okay.
This woman panellist raised that as a point of saying, you know, do we really want to be giving honours to people that break their wives' noses?
Yeah.
And Fiona
No, we
Bruce... Well, Fiona Bruce, now, she has a duty, you know, as being a chair of a panel and being impartial, she has a duty from law to make some sort of clarification.
Yeah.
But the way she did it was a bit shit.
Uh-huh.
So basically, this panellist woman said, "Oh, you know, Stanley Johnson broke his wife's nose. Should we be giving honours to?" And Fiona
To a
Bruce
wife beater?
interjected and said, "Oh, but he only did it once."
Oh, okay, because that makes it okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
he
it's the
only
way
lost
she said it.
control of himself once.
Well, he
fine.
didn't, because she documented the fact that he'd been kicking the shit out of her for ages, but he only broke a nose once. So it's the way that
Right.
Fiona Bruce interjected to it. She could have done it a lot
Right.
better, but, you know,
Okay,
quite
but
frankly...
she wasn't the one who threw the punch and broken nose, so
I mean, to be honest,
within
mate,
balance.
getting completely off subject, but it's just more of this letting shit go, standing by, being
Yeah.
a bystander.
Yeah.
You know, oh well, it was only once. Do you know what? It was once, mate, and once is too
it
many.
was once and once is too many.
And
man. No,
quite
completely
frankly,
agree
mate,
with
when you've got to a situation where, I was going to say a man using violence against a woman, but likewise the other way around.
Well,
If you've got to a point
I don't
where
mean
you,
funny. I mean,
Hold
that,
on.
Go on.
if you've got to a
Because you haven't
point,
spoken enough on this one.
well, it's my fucking turn, isn't it? You ask me a question and then you want to interrupt me when I'm answering it. Do you want to ask the questions or do you want to answer them?
I could have used Google.
Just shut the fuck up. Now you love me train of thought now. Fuck off. Go on, talk. Say something.
No. I mean,
I
now
don't
I
watch
feel
the
awful
news. I
because
don't listen to current affairs, but I've got loads to say. Go on, bore me about boilers.
I'm not going to talk about my fucking job. No, finish off. No, not like that.
No, I can't remember what I was saying.
Really?
Oh, probably something about, you know, when you got a situation where someone's using physical violence against someone, then that hasn't come out of nowhere. There's
a big build-up.
There's been, you know, verbal violence or.
Oh, just control, mainly.
Well,
yeah.
quite, I mean, well, not even that, mate. I mean, sometimes you see blokes that are absolute pushovers and then that switch and they rage and then they get physical. It's not always coercive control.
Okay, I mean, my
personal opinion is the coercive control is the most insidious,
yeah.
because that's the one that really fucks your brain up.
I think my opinion on this is there's always a build-up to physically attacking someone.
Yeah, well,
It's normally a build-up, right? You know,
there's a background.
there's about. Let's go minor. I say minor, but let's go to like what you might see in like a normal thing, like in a pub. You know, someone looks at someone's missus wrong or says something rude or whatever. The other person, quite rightly, will go to that other person's defence to defend them. Then there's an altercation where there's an argument, whatever. Someone, you know, if a guy's just being a prick, whatever, the other person's going to. I've tried to be alright with you. I've tried to explain why that wasn't okay. Tried all matters. Lamps him.
Well,
That's the quick version. I think in relationships,
it's
think
even
it's-
still in that sample, there is a background.
yeah, exactly. But I think in relationships, these things just can build and build and build and build and build. Where that that outleash of just violence is actually been so pent up, and it's often because the person who's trying to be controlling, that person's the victim has now tried to like sort of fight back, and that's normally, from what I've experienced in life, that's often what it is. It's normally when the other person's fought back is where the controlling one has realised that they're not so much in control.
I mean, I don't know about the fighting back bit, but you know, if you take, well, let's just narrow it down. Let's talk about an unhappy domestic circumstance.
Yeah.
And let's take the example of a man versus a woman, because quite frankly, that's the majority.
Yeah.
You can have a circumstance where you've got a fairly mild-mannered person who, for whatever reason, whether it's a lifestyle situation or an incompatible relationship or whatever, and there's something building,
Yeah.
and they don't have the methods, they don't have the knowledge of how to diffuse that, then sometimes that can reach violence. But you also get the circumstance where you get the circumstance where someone in the relationship is just a fucking aggressive bully, and you know that's
an arsehole.
but you'll get people, and I've seen circumstances where it's a person that wouldn't normally react
Lash out.
yeah, but historically in their family, in their childhood perhaps, there's a language of violence in there.
Yeah.
They've seen dad shout at mum,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of, and it gets to a point, a crescendo, where almost this native thing kicks in.
It's like the unconscious just sort of steps in and goes, I've run out of options, just do
I'm
this.
not thinking straight, I don't know how to function.
Yeah.
And that not prehistoric, but that previous thing where you go, oh, this is what I've learned, or I've seen, or I've witnessed, steps in, and suddenly you've done something.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, all circumstances, that's just fucking wrong. And that's the joy of therapy.
That is the joy of it, mate.
Go and get some fucking help, mate.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't,
go and tap into that stuff.
if you're feeling shit about it, you know, I mean, let's think, for example, that someone listening to this podcast identifies with something there. You know, they felt rage against their partner or something.
Yeah, of course.
Go and get help, man. I swear to you, within 1 or 2 sessions, you'll start to understand yourself better.
Yeah, certainly.
You might not have the
I
solution.
was shocked by it when I
You might
started
not have
to
the
go.
answer, but you will definitely start to learn a language to understand yourself.
I think the joy is that is you start to think of things in a different matter, in a different way. You know, you sort of go, okay, wait a minute, I've been thinking like this for so long, and a lot of the time, like, we do get ourselves into a rut where we just go, okay, that is what it is, that is what that is, that is what that is. You know what? When you actually, what's the thing, like, broaden your horizons? I don't know, that's a shit way to put it.
Well, it's just educating yourself.
Just have a broader sort of thought process on stuff. I think a lot of people get really trapped into thinking it's always the other person's fault. Hey, it can't be me because I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still surviving.
There's a funny thing about relationship counselling there. There's like a statistic that something ridiculous, like 75-80% of couples, when one person walks into the therapy session, they think they're there for the other person.
Yeah, no, that is a thing. Yeah, that is a thing. Hugely, yeah.
I mean, to be honest, mate, I just rattled off a little bit there, but once I finished speaking, I realised that that's not too dissimilar to my own circumstance. I mean, obviously not domestic violence. I've never been violent with a partner. But you remember the thing that, like, forced me over the line to go, shit, I need some help and I need to go and speak to a therapist.
Yeah, I do, man, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to say it?
Oh, do you know what? Why not?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a bit of a sort of stereotype of, like, car drivers getting upset with cyclists because they, you know, hold the traffic up and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, yeah, that is the case, but I'm usually quite a chilled out guy, you know, and I you know, I don't really get stressed out about things like that. And particularly back in those days, I was smoking a lot of weed, so I was really fucking chilled out.
You should be chilled, yeah.
But there was this occasion where this cyclist held me up and I can't remember, he either flicked me the bird or called me the C word or something like that.
Yeah.
And man, red mist. Literally, trigger, done. I was not myself. I was in full-on rage mode.
Fuck you mode.
Yeah, and we had an altercation. And, you know, I won't go into the details of it.
Yeah.
But
Because this is recorded.
because this is recorded. I don't want to be prosecuted for that. Yeah, and I remember, you know, like...
I actually thought you were going to tell a different story there. I thought the one that made you start therapy again because of anger was when you broke your hand when you punched the door in the office when I had to go do your shopping for you.
No, that was it was all around about the same time. So I clearly wasn't processing my thoughts correctly, and wasn't had no release. There was no pressure valve, and it was all just building up. No, that circumstance is where I punched what I thought was a very soft door turned out to be a very, very hard door.
It was a solid door, man. Yeah.
It was a solid door.
Yeah.
That was a circumstance with the housemate that I was living with
Yeah.
being a complete slovenly mess.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he was having his own issues. And
See, it's funny, like that part of it. That just shows like the communication part,
yeah, there was no
which
communication.
is always comes down to that.
I wasn't communicating with him. I wasn't communicating with myself.
No.
And so they were both around about. Well, the door thing came first. And then the cyclist in the ditch came after. and literally, when I got home...
I can't wait for friends that have listened to this to ask me about it, and I'll be like, I'll tell you the story.
When I got home after that event, it was the following day. It was literally the following day.
This is out of control.
And I jumped on Google and I went, right, therapists near me. And
Violence for that is a massive thing. I mean,
I'm a totally non-violent person, so for me to get to a physical stage was just wow.
For me to see red is just
this is madness.
It pushes it. I mean, with my childhood background and stuff like that. I mean, I remember being maybe 6 or 7 years old, and I'd had a kicking. I remember thinking to myself at that age, I was like, I will never do this to someone ever. And that was something that literally stayed with me from about that age. And at the
I think that's
3 moments in my lifetime where I have been violent towards someone else, the instant fucking guilt that I have felt it empties me. It empties me when I've done it, and I don't be funny. That's something since therapy really, which has disappeared almost. I never think of actually going down that track because I now know what builds up to that moment. So I know actually how to stop that before.
I'm not
it
sure
starts.
I'd use the word disappear, but like if you think about it as like a meter, and there's a threshold of the meter. I haven't come anywhere near it to even have it in visibility. I just don't get like that. So, you know, I've learned techniques for grounding myself. And,
Yeah.
you know,
I think that's the trick, isn't it? Is actually knowing what your thought process is and what things need to occur for you to then reach that point.
Yeah,
For you to behave like that,
I mean, if we talk about it,
because it is just behaviour.
if we talk about it in terms of like a meter, you know, like a sound meter.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes
Like a
green, and then it
waveform.
goes in the yellow, and then it's getting into the red, and
Yeah.
you know. So we're talking about anger and violence.
Yeah.
Like you said a few times, in those circumstances, and I'd got into the red there. When you just said there about like thought patterns and behaviour, the rage thing was very, very fleeting, and a couple of occasions in my life, more than a couple, if I'm honest, but.
That's a constant. You're always feeling
No,
emotion.
no. It's not a constant. That's the point I'm trying to make.
No.
I don't get to that point.
No. But what I mean is, you're always feeling emotion. So
Of course, you're always feeling emotions.
So you're
but
always
you're
on
not,
that meter.
But you're not getting. Yeah, you're always.
Yeah.
But you're in the green.
Yeah.
You're in,
Yeah.
You're in, follow.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
I know I've got you, man. I'm just
Pay attention.
I'm
The point I'm
making me to be out the dummy. Jeez. Okay.
You are. the point I'm making, or trying to make, very longly because you keep interrupting me.
You've spoken so much on this today.
Everyone heard from you last week and they wrote in and say, "Oh, can we hear some more from Phil?" They didn't. The point I'm making is that
No,
on
they
that
said more Mark.
on that meter where you're talking about like rage and losing control, that's not been very often in my life. But depression is something that I know very, very well, and I know all of the scales of depression. When I went to therapy, the reason I went to therapy is because I'd got into the red on that rage thing.
Yeah.
And I learned
You were
how
reacting.
not to get into that red.
Yeah.
But in that process, I learned how not to get in the red on my depression as well.
Yeah.
So since being, quite frankly, that cyclist at the bottom of the ditch done me a massive favour, because I don't remember the last time that I laid in bed going, I really hate myself.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I only occasionally get in the yellow and go, oh, I don't really like myself,
You
but
know
I'm
what? It's
alright.
funny you say about the road rage thing today. I was actually so I drove past it today in the van to go to a job, and there was a guy, and I followed him from the bottom of the road, which is about a mile away, and I followed him the whole way up, and he was behind a Land Rover. This guy was in a Mazda, something or other, and as the guy went right to pull into the village down here, the guy that was in front of me flipped this guy in the Land Rover, the Bird, literally slowed right down to 20 miles an hour in a 50, and like gives him the Bird. He's calling the guy a C word and like fuck you and da da da. And I was just like, what the hell is this guy up to right now? Like, what is this guy up to right now? And then I sort of went, that guy needs some therapy, because like if you are raging at someone so much, and I hadn't seen any weird behaviour from this Land Rover, and the Land Rover had pulled out of the junction just before me, hadn't cut this guy up, nothing like that. I was just like, someone's just angry as hell.
Using my noise meter analogy, that guy's permanently living in the yellow and the red.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Like, how the fuck can you
the
live
tiniest
that
thing just
angry? Like,
boom.
how can you live that
Yeah.
angry constantly? It must be exhausting
Yeah.
to behave like that. Zoe, thank you very much for the beer.
Thank you, Zoe. This
So really, what we need to get down to is don't be a dickhead. If you're angry and upset, talk about your emotions.
it's good to talk. It's even better to talk to someone that's professional.
Absolutely, but
Like us.
But then if you don't want to
not
face that, no, we're not professional. But then if you don't want to face that immediately, you know what? You will have a guy friend or a girlfriend or whatever. Someone will be near enough to you that does love you and does care about you to talk about this stuff. And if they don't, there are other places to fucking go to talk about this
Yeah.
stuff. Is that the right way to put it?
I
I'm not
think
an expert.
No. I think you're right. You know, like certainly in my history with the depression, I never wanted to talk about it because I was always.
Well, I didn't until you
would've-
convinced me to do it.
I always had that opinion of I don't want to bring anyone else down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it turned out right that my oldest mates, and you know, I'm not a young man anymore, so my oldest mates.
You still haven't told us your age, Phil.
Yes, yes, I'm going to be 19 next. No.
Oh, man.
I think what I'm going to do is just change the number every episode and just people.
That's so it just confuses it all. Remember, you can always look at the Instagram account and that's a visual thing. You can work out his age from that. Yeah. The annoying thing is about Phil is actually you look at him and he looks fucking younger than what he is. Bastard.
Until you zoom in and see the wrinkles.
I think I'm worse than you, mate. I started to have to moisturise every morning my face.
Oh, bless you.
I know.
So, so some of my oldest mates I've known for quite a long time, and you know we knew each other when we were kids, and I never really appreciated quite how supportive they could and would be until I had a mental health crisis, and they were there.
Same with me. And you know what? That first time that I went through that, and then not necessarily a mental health crisis since, but there's been other things in my life. Your true friends suddenly just turn up.
Oh, big time.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So to every person that's ever turned up for me, thank you so fucking much. You've been amazing. And I will never forget it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Yeah, you don't need to really thank them. It's not what you do.
No,
is
not
it?
really. But you know what?
You don't
It
do that.
means shitloads, doesn't it?
But to anyone out there that is experiencing difficult times at the moment, do try and speak to your mates. And if you're that mate, then do try and shepherd them towards therapy. It's not frightening. It's not scary in any
It's
way
that,
whatsoever.
But you know what? Sometimes all that we need is just someone to listen. You don't need to come up with a solution or anything like that. Sometimes just listen.
I was speaking to one of our mutual friends who is going to be a future guest on our podcast, so I won't mention their name. And they're having some difficulties with family issues.
Sure.
And I was saying, you should maybe go and speak to a therapist. And they said to me, well, therapy is not going to make my family member better.
No.
And I said, no. And do you know what? It's not even going to make you better.
No.
But it will help you to understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
And that's, I can't even begin to tell you the value of that.
No.
It's
It's so important to learn. And it's a journey which I'm sure we'll cover at some point.
I hate the
And
expression journey, but yes, it is.
No, it is, and to learn all of that stuff is, for me, I've been doing therapy now 3 and a bit years.
Is it long?
That long. Changed my life and my thought patterns completely. And it's not just been therapy. Well, the joy of therapy as well is I've then gone outside of that and then educated myself through podcasts and audio books and research online about what I suffer from. Just understanding yourself and what you've been through.
Yeah.
Is so important.
I think it's probably worth saying though that you have a passion for that subject. For the ordinary person that might be listening to this and going, do you know what? I'm waking up every morning feeling crap about myself.
Yeah, no.
You don't need to study. You don't need to get involved that much. Just go and speak to someone,
Just go
mate.
talk
and
about it.
literally, just the process of talking will start to make you feel better, even if it's just unloading in a safe
It
space.
is, yeah. It is a thing. It's why I still do it.
Why I still do it?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's a lie. Actually, that's not why I still do it, because I don't need anything that needs fixing.
Yeah.
What we say at the moment is,
But you find it as a helpful tool just for week.
well, there's two
week
reasons.
things?
Partly is to keep balance, but the reason I keep spending the money that I do
Yeah.
is I'm interested to find out what the best version of me is
Yeah.
and just how good I could become.
Yeah, I like that bit of me too with it, because that's the thing for me is every time I don't feel like every day I feel like I'm doing better. I like it's a better version of me. I get down days and stuff, of course I do, but I know overall it's a constant improvement now. It's not that stagnant point where I just hated myself, so.
Yeah, personally, my improvement, if you think of it on a graph like with an upward slope, it's imperceptible, mate. It's almost horizontal, but I believe that it's slightly incrementing. It's a very, very slow. But
now
then
this is Phil completely, because obviously there's Mr. Self-Doubt.
and that's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
And that comes into our different characters. You're a more positive person, or what Matt says is you have more energy.
Yeah. You definitely do.
It's one of the three things that me and Matt disagree with.
Well, you know what? We'll catch up with you guys next week. I think we're done, man.
Are we done?
I think we're done, man. That's an hour.
Was it really?
That's an hour.
Wow, those poor people. Okay. Yeah. Lovely to see you, mate.
I will see you. Well, let's be honest. I'll probably see you tomorrow or the day after.
Probably. Whose turn for the tab is it?
Shit.
I think it's your go.
I think it's me.
It's you.
Fuck.
Yay, win.
You know what? You win some, you lose some.
Cool. Are we calling it a day?
That's the day, man.
See you next week, guys.
See you in a bit, man.
Bye.